And we're on the air. It's a miracle of modern science or something. So far, I have it that nobody's watching, so I may or may not start talking to myself. I think we all know the answer to that is I'm definitely going to start talking to myself. I don't support Coca Cola in any way. I just have it in my house and it's creepy. So I'm going to drink some so that I have enough energy to devote to this lovely little book. Now, you might ask me, or you might not give a shit, why I decided to do story time on the internet. And first off, a little bit about me. My name is Elvie or Felice, or today it's Polymath. Get it? Polymath. And I will be your storytelling person for today. My normal job is that I have like 5 jobs, but primarily I live in with my grandma Eloise and I take care of her full time. So there might be a couple of moments where I have to go help her to the bathroom or get her something to eat. But living this way, I get a little lonely and a little real depressed, especially when I don't have much mental stimulation to keep me interested in the world and things happening in it. So I thought, secondarily, why this book itself? Well, first off, I have listened to a lot of Bell Hooks speak and read a lot of interviews with her over my many years of being a feminist and being very conscious of race and activism. But I have yet to read one of her works. So I got this handy dandy little baby at the Oakland Public Library, and they want it back from me. And they're not going to get it back from me until I'm done with it. So I figured, since I can't seem to get myself to read the damn thing myself, I might as well read it for the world. So let us begin with Bone Black Memories of Childhood. And by the way, if there are racial slurs, I will be skipping them because I don't feel it's appropriate for me to use them. Sorry if that makes you feel weird. Sorry, I'm not sorry. Let's go to the first page, shall we? Do you care who she dedicated it to? Why not? To my best girl, with hope for the boy I held in my arms. When you say, I would die for you to those you love, the truth of those words may not be that you give your physical life, but that you are willing to die to the past and be born again in the present, where you can live fully and freely, where you can give us the love we need. And since I read that, I suppose I should read the foreword. Bone Black Memories of Girlhood is not an ordinary tale. It is the story of girlhood rebellion, of my struggle to create self and identity distinct from and yet inclusive of the world around me. Writing imagistically, I seek to conjure a rich, magical world of Southern Black culture that was sometimes paradisical and other times terrifying. While the narratives of family life I share can be easily labeled dysfunctional, significantly that fact will never alter the magic and mystery that was present, all that was deeply life-sustaining and life-affirming. The beauty lies in the way it all comes together, exposing and revealing the inner life of a girl inventing herself, creating the foundation of selfhood and identity that will ultimately lead to the fulfillment of her true destiny, becoming a writer. Nowadays, more than ever before, feminist thinkers are writing about the significance of girlhood as a time when females feel free and powerful. Our bodies do not yet distinguish themselves as definitively from those of boys, and our energies are just as intense, if not more so. Not enough is known about the experience of Black girls in our society. Indeed, one of my favorite novels in the whole world is Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. When the book was first published, she explained that it was her desire to write about the people who in all literature were always peripheral, little Black girls who were props, backgrounds. Those people were never center stage, and those people were me. I was still in my teens when I read this book. It shook me to the very roots of my being. There in this fictional narrative were fragments of my story, my girlhood. Always an obsessive reader, I had felt this lack. To see this period of our life given serious recognition was awesomely affirming. My life was never going to be the same after reading this book. It wasn't simply that Morrison focused on Black girls, but that she gave us girls confronting issues of class, race, identity, girls who were struggling to confront and cope with pain. And most of all, she gave us Black girls who were critical thinkers, theorizing their lives, telling the story, and by doing so, making themselves subjects of history. Many feminist thinkers writing and talking about girlhood right now like to suggest that Black girls have better self-esteem than their white counterparts. The measurement of this difference is often that Black girls are more assertive, speak more, appear more confident. Yet in traditional Southern-based Black life, it was and is expected of girls to be articulate. Just realized that my microphone was sitting in my lap, so I'm very sorry if you couldn't hear me. Where was I? Yet in traditional Southern-based Black life, it was and is expected of girls to be articulate, to hold ourselves with dignity. Our parents and teachers were always urging us to stand up right and speak clearly. These traits were meant to uplift the race. They were not necessarily traits associated with building female self-esteem. An outspoken girl might still feel that she was worthless because her skin was not light enough or her hair the right texture. These are the variables that white researchers often do not consider when they measure the self-esteem of Black females with a yardstick that was designed based on values emerging from white experience. White girls of all classes are often encouraged to be silent, but to see the opposite in different ethnic groups as a sign of female empowerment is to miss the reality of that the cultural codes of that group may dictate a quite different standard by which female self-esteem is measured. To understand the complexity of Black girlhood, we need more work that documents that reality in all its variations and diversity. Certainly, class shapes and the nature of our childhood experiences. Undoubtedly, Black girls raised in materially privileged families have different notions of self-esteem from peers growing up poor and/or destitute. It's vital that we hear about our diverse experience. There is no one story of Black girlhood. As a girl growing up in a family that includes 5 sisters, I am amazed that our experiences were often incredibly different, even though we were in the same household. Our memories reflect those differences. Bone Black Memories of Girlhood is my story. An unconventional memoir, it draws together the experiences, dreams, and fantasies that most preoccupied me as a girl. I share my secret world, the various names I created, for example, calling my grandmother Saru in my imagination because it was better than her real name, Sarah. This is autobiography as truth and myth, as poetic witness. That rebellious writer of the Beat generation, Jack Kerouac, always declared memories are inseparable from dreams. In Bone Black, I gathered together the dreams, fantasies, experiences that preoccupied me as a girl, that stayed with me and appear and reappear in different shapes and forms in all my work. Without telling everything that happened, they document all that remains most vivid. They are the foundation on which I have built a life in writing, a life committed to intellectual pursuits. Laying out the groundwork of my early life like a crazy quilt, Bone Black brings together fragments to make a whole. Bits and pieces connect in a random and playfully irrational way. And there is always the persistence of repetition, for that is what the mind does. It goes over and over the same things, looking at them in different ways. The prevailing perspective is always that of the intuitive and critically thinking child mind. Sometimes memories are presented in the third person, indirectly, just as all of us sometimes talk about things that way. We look back as if we are standing at a distance. Examining life retrospectively, we are there and not there, watching and watched. Evoking the mood and sensibility of moments, this is an autobiography of perceptions and ideas. The events described are always less significant than the impressions they leave on the mind and heart. 2 quotes before the beginning of the book. The children I was has been left behind. Those who first loved me have gone on without me. Where they were, a door has been left open upon a solitude. Robert Duncan, Groundwork. Our lives may be determined less by our childhood than by the way we have learned to imagine our childhoods. James Hillman, The Soul's Code. Double check that nobody's yelling at me. Yay, nobody's yelling at me that I don't sound good. Okay. Bone Black, Chapter 1. Mama has given me a quilt from her hope chest. It is one It is one her mother's mother made. It is a quilt of stars, each piece taken from faded cotton summer dresses, each piece stitched by hand. She has given me a beaded purse that belonged to my father's mother, Sister Ray. They want to know why she has given it to me, since I was not Sister Ray's favorite. They say she is probably turning over in her grave, angry that I have something of hers. Mama tells us, her daughters, that the daughters in her family started gathering things for their hope chest when they were very young, gathering all the things that they would carry with them into marriage. The first time she opens hers for us, I feel I am witnessing yet another opening of Pandora's box, that the secrets of her youth, the bittersweet memories, will come rushing out like a waterfall and push us back in time. Instead, the scent of cedar fills the air. It reminds me of Christmas, of abandoned trees standing naked in the snow after the celebrations are over. Usually, we are not invited to share in the opening of the chest. Even though we stand near her watching, she acts as if we are not there. I see her remembering, clutching tightly in her hand some object, some bit of herself that she has had to part with in order to live in the present. I see her examining each hope to see if it has been fulfilled, if the promises have been kept. I pretend I do not see the tears in her eyes. I am glad she shares the opening of this chest, this time, with all of us. I am clutching the gifts she hands to me, the quilt, the beaded purse. She knows that I am often hopeless. She stores no treasures for my coming marriage. I do not want to be given away. I cannot contain my dreams until tomorrow. I cannot wait for someone else, a stranger, to take my hand. That night in my sleep, I dream of going away. I am taking the bus. Mama is standing, waving goodbye. Later, when I return from my journey, I come home only to find there has been a fire. Nothing remains of our house. Oops. And I can see no one. There is only the dark and the thick smell of smoke. I stand alone, weeping. The sound of my sobbing is like the cry of the peacock. Suddenly they appear with candles, Mama and everyone. They say they have heard my sorrow pierce the air like the cry of the peacock, that they have come to comfort me. They give me a candle. Together we search the ashes for bits and pieces, any fragment of our lives that may have survived. We find that the hope chest has not burned through and through. We open it, taking out the charred remains. Someone finds a photo. One face is turned to ash, another is there. We pass around the fragments like bread and wine at communion. The chorus of weeping is our testimony that we are moved. Louder than our weeping is a voice commanding us to stop our tears. We cannot see who is speaking, but we are reminded of the stern sound of our mother's voice. We listen. She tells us to sit close in the night, to make a circle of our bodies, to place the candles at the center of the circle. The candles burn like another fire, only this time, she says, the fire burns to warm our hearts. She says, listen, let me tell you a story. She begins to put together in words all that has been destroyed in the fire. We are all rejoicing when the dream ends. The next day, I want to know what the dream means, who she is, this storyteller who comes in the night. Saru, Mama's mother, is the interpreter of dreams. She tells me that I should know the storyteller, that I and she are one, that they are my sisters, family. She says that a part of me is making the story, making the words, making the new fire, that it is my heart burning in the center of the flames. Chapter 2. We live in the country. We children do not understand that that means we are living among the poor. We do not understand that the outhouses behind many of the houses are still there because running water came here long after they had it in the city. We do not understand that our playmates, who are eating laundry starch, do so not because the white powder tastes so good, but because they are sometimes without necessary food. We do not understand that we wash with the heavy, unsmelling, oddly shaped pieces of homemade lye soap because real soap costs money. We never think about where lye soap comes from. We only know we want to make our skin itch less, that we do not want our mouths to be washed out with it. Because we are poor, because we live in the country, we go to the country school, the little white wood frame building where all the country kids come. They come from miles and miles away. They come so far because they are black. As they are riding the school buses, they pass school after school where children who are white can attend without being bused, without getting up in the wee hours of the morning, sometimes leaving home in the dark. We are not bused. The school is only a mile or two away from our house. We get to walk. We get to wander aimlessly in the road until a car comes by. We get to wave at the buses. They are not allowed to stop and give us a ride. We do not understand why. Daddy says the walk to school will be good for us. He tells us again and again in a harsh voice of the miles he walked to school through fields in the snow, without boots or gloves to keep him warm. We are not comforted by the image of the small boy trudging along many miles to school so he can learn to read and be somebody. When we close our eyes, he becomes real to us. He looks very sad. Sometimes he cries. We are not at all comforted, and there are still days when we complain about the walk, especially when it is wet and stormy. School begins with chapel. There we recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. We have no feeling for the flag, but we like the words. Said in unison, they sound like a chant. We then listen to a morning prayer. We say the Lord's Prayer. It is the singing that makes the morning chapel the happiest moment of the day. It is there I learned to sing Red River Valley. It is a song about missing and longing. I do not understand all of the words, only the feeling. Warm, wet sorrow, like playing games in spring rain. After chapel, we go to classrooms. In the first grade, the teacher gives tasting parties. She brings us different foods to taste so that we can know what they are like, because we do not want to eat them in our houses. All of us eagerly await the Fridays when the tasting part will begin. The day she brings cottage cheese, I am not sure I want to try it. She makes me. She makes everyone try a little bit, just in case they might really like it. We go home from the tasting parties telling our parents what it was like, telling them to buy this new good food, better than any food we have ever tasted. Mama tells us that most of that food we taste isn't good to eat all the time, that it is a waste of money. We do not understand money. We do not know that we are all poor. We cannot visit many of the friends we make because they live miles and miles away. We have each other after school. Chapter 3. Here at the country school, we must always work to raise money, selling candy, raffle tickets, having shows for which tickets are sold. Sold to our parents, neighbors, friends, people without money who are shamed into buying little colored paper they cannot afford, tickets that will help keep the school going. The people with lots of money can buy many tickets, can show that they are big time. Their flesh is often the color of pigs in the storybook. Somehow they have more money because they are lighter, because their flesh turns pink and pinker, because they dye their hair blonde, red, to emphasize the lightness of their skin. We children think of them as white. We are so confused by this thing called race. We learn about color with crayons. We learn to tell the difference between white and pink and a color they call flesh. The flesh-colored crayon amuses us. Like white, it never shows up on the thick vanilla paper they give us to draw on, or on the brown paper sacks we draw on at home. Flesh, we know, has no relationship to our skin, for we are brown and brown and brown, like all good things. And we know that pigs are not pink or white like these flesh people. We secretly love pigs, especially me. I like to watch them lie in the mud, covering themselves with the cool red mud that is like clay, that is flaming red hot like dirt on fire. I like to watch them eat, to feed them. For some weeks now I have been feeding them the coal that is our way of keeping warm in winters. I give them little pieces at a time to hear the crunching sound. I want to give them all the tickets to eat, so that no one will have to sell them. So Mama will not have to complain about the way it adds to her worries that she must now sell tickets. The pigs are disgusted by the tickets. Even when I prod them with a stick, they only turn away. They would rather eat coal. I must sell tickets for a Tom Thumb wedding, one of the school shows. It isn't any fun for children. We get to dress up in paper wedding clothes and go through a ceremony for the entertainment of the adults. The whole thing makes me sick, but no one cares. Like every other girl, I want to be the bride, but I'm not chosen. It has always to do with money. The important roles go to the children whose parents have the money to give, who will work hard selling tickets. I am lucky to be a bridesmaid, to wear a red crepe paper dress made just for me. I'm not thrilled with such luck. I would rather not wear a paper dress, not to be in a make-believe wedding. They tell me that I am lucky to be light-skinned, not black, not dark brown. Lucky to have hair that is almost straight. Otherwise, I might not be in the wedding at all. Otherwise, I might not be so lucky. This luck angers me, and when I am angry, things always go wrong. We are practicing in our paper dresses, walking down the aisle while the piano music plays a wedding march. We are practicing to be brides, to be girls who will grow up to be given away. My legs would rather be running, itch to go outdoors. My legs are dreaming, adventurous legs. They cannot walk down the aisle without protest. They go too fast. They go too slow. They make everything slow down. The girl walking behind me steps on the red dress. It tears. It moves from my flesh like wind moving against the running legs. I am truly lucky now to have this tear. I hope they will make me sit, but they say, no, we would not think of taking you out of the show. They know how much every girl wants to be in a wedding. The tear must be mended. The red dress, like a woman's heart, must break silently and in secret. Chapter 4. Where they live on the hill, there are few houses around. All the land is owned by one black man who lives not far away from them in a big house with no other houses around. He also lives high on a hill. Their house is made of stone and concrete. White men built it when they began to work to see if oil could be found on the hill. Oil was never found. They left remnants of their machinery, of their presence. They left the cold concrete houses. In the hot, humid summer, the coolness inside was like refrigeration, but in the winter it was cold and damp. The cold grayness of the house had little impact on them. They were always playing outside, playing in the green grasses in the hills above the house. They would walk for miles into the hills, looking for honeysuckle and wild asparagus, trying to stay out of the way of snakes. They were not always afraid of snakes, but they knew to be careful, knew that snake bite could be dangerous. She liked to walk to a favorite tree up the hill and play with a bright green snake that lived there, a green tree snake. She knew how to talk to the snake and how to listen. She told the snake about the problems she was having learning her left from her right. The snake understood her frustration, her tears, when everyone was ready to go and she was still struggling to put her shoes on the correct foot. The snake understood that the punishments did not make the task any easier. She felt it was the shoes. Big Buster around her wrist like a bracelet, the green tree snake told her to take those shoes every day and put them on the trash, that maybe they would burn them along with all the unwanted things. Every night she sneaked out of the house and placed the shoes neatly on the pile of trash to be burned. Every morning she was punished and made to get the shoes. She continued until finally her daddy said, "Buy her another pair of shoes." She was considered a problem child, a child intent on getting her own way. That day she wandered off alone to thank the green tree snake for helping her. On her way home she found a new path. Without thinking, she followed it. The path led to a huge garden. She did not know who had planted it. She walked slowly down row after row, watching the growing plants, making sure not to step on them. We paused this broadcast for a quick phone break or something. Be right back.